We're just halfway through the year, and already 2017 has proven to be a tale of two Hollywoods. One a lazy mess, the other, though, boldly pushing the edge of the envelope to not only give us some of the best movies of the year, but some of the best movies of all time. I pity us when we have to make our lists at the end of the year, because there are some really good movies still on the horizon. But still, this is my list of top 10 movies of 2017 so far, and I look forward to seeing your own lists down below. I bet we have a lot of the same movies. It's just the order that's going to differ and probably cause some comments fights. But let's get started. Number 10, Split. While I feel M. Night Shyamalan is starting to slip back into some of his old habits, particularly script-wise, two things about Split made it just make the cut for my list here. Number one, a tour de force of acting by James McAvoy, which is so brilliantly out there that mainstream audiences had no choice but to finally recognize his work. I hope they continue to do so. I hope it wasn't a one-off, but he's going to continue the character with the next movie, and that's number two, that M. Night Shyamalan and Universal actually managed to keep the twist ending a surprise, one of M. Night Shyamalan's greatest, by the way, and that's that the film is actually a sequel to one of the films that made him a name in the first place, Unbreakable. And I would say that this might be his greatest twist since his very first, The Sixth Sense. Although that script overall was way better. Where did your script writing talents go, M. Night? But anyway, number 10. So number 9, The Beguiled. Oh, some of you aren't going to like that. I think some of you are going to feel the bottom of my list is a little spotty, but this is where I think personal preference comes in before we get to the undeniables. But anyway, number 9, The Beguiled. As M. Night Shyamalan looks back at what made him famous in the early days of his career, Sofia Coppola looks forward, proving that she's finally come into her own as a director, yet ironically is one worthy of the name Coppola. I do see a lot of similarities to the measured pacing and epicness, I guess you could say, of The Godfather. Not just measured pacing, but just measured overall. And that's a good way to describe both films from a directorial standpoint. But anyway, besides her directing ability as a writer, this is a retelling of both a novel and then a film that were told by men, but here Coppola makes the story more balanced between the male and female perspective. She doesn't go full feminist, she just, as I said, balances the scales. The result is a haunting, beautiful tale of gender, class, and regional, not warfare, as the trailer makes it seem, but misunderstanding with tragic consequences. All right, number 8, Alien Covenant. It's my list and I'm putting it on here, although I'm sure some of you totally feel me on this. I've run into you, fellow Alien Covenant fans, and we are surprisingly legion. But anyway, while it does seem that most people aren't into an Alien Blade Runner shared cinematic universe, for those of us that are, we got a lovely Valentine here. Also, if you care about robot civil rights, this was a great movie, as David and Roy are truly cut from the same cloth. Their fight for robot civil rights, equally touching and disastrous. And that ending. I can't think of a better way to describe this movie than elegant, which is exactly what David is. All right, number 7, John Wick, Chapter 2. And while here the film gets a bit repetitive towards the end, I never said these films were perfect. And perhaps, when we get to the top of the list, I think they are. And it's also a bit too long. It's one of the most inventively artistic films I've ever seen, which has earned it this spot on the list. I mean, from the opening shot, which brilliantly contrasts black and white footage from an old movie of a motorcycle wiping out with footage of a real one before us wiping out on the neon streets of modern-day New York City, to a final shootout in a hall of mirrors, Batman style, Batman Joker style. I mean, this movie has just so much flair. I would really say it's like Andy Warhol, the action movie. And of course, Keanu Reeves, always personable. Then number 6 is Get Out. Jordan Peele, his very modern episode of The Twilight Zone has trouble with the logistics of the big reveal, but there's no question that it has struck a chord with moviegoers of all different ethnicities. And when somebody achieves that, it's important to take notice. Peele is clearly a masterful director right out of the gate, definitely switching from comedy to horror. And I understand him saying that, there's a similarity between the two because they both evoke an involuntary reaction, right? Laughter or fear. Very clever, that Jordan Peele. And on that note, he's able to make the switch from comedy to horror without skipping a beat when it comes to the shrewd social commentary that made he and Keegan-Michael Key famous in the first place. So I was really impressed. And while Hollywood is known for recycling, Peele not only tells an original story here, but starts an original conversation, at least with the mainstream. Very, very impressive. And I liked the first 2/3. Number 5, Logan. Speaking of original, how many actors get the chance to say goodbye to a character after 17 years like Hugh Jackman does with Wolverine in this movie? It was amazing! And after 17 years of not quite getting it right, according to X-Men comic book fans, Jackman and James Mangold proved that the only thing holding them back was the studio, as they finally got creative carte blanche from Fox. Fox is handing that out a lot these days. I hope it continues to have such fabulous results. And like Winter Soldier before it, Logan proves there's untapped depths in the comic book genre, especially when you cross it with another genre here, as they did with a Western. Some say film noir. It's totally a Western. Plus, by making X-23 hail from Mexico, the film also reflects on our complicated relationship with the country just south of our border. And also Canada even comes into play. Surprisingly political film. Now, number 4 is The Founder. And some of you might be like, what? How is The Founder ahead of Logan and these other movies? Well, listen, the Weinstein Company totally bailed on this film, instead deciding to push Lion for award season last year, and they dashed the Oscar hopes of Michael Keaton and producer Jeremy Renner with this movie. And it's a real shame, because I think Lion was more awards baity, but I think The Founder is the better film. And this means, because of how they just buried this film in the middle of January. I had like a small qualifying release, like on 2 screens in late December for awards season. But because they buried it with that January release date, most people haven't seen the story of the man that made McDonald's, in spite of the actual McDonald's brothers. It's a tragic story, though, and some people will side with the McDonald's brothers, some people will side with Ray Kroc. But there's no denying that just like Walt Disney helped shape 1950s and 60s Americana through entertainment, Ray Kroc helped shape it through mealtime. And that's just so fascinating to think that he had a similar effect. And you think it was just Walt Disney, but Ray Kroc, I think, definitely played into that, especially when you think of what McDonald's has become today and how I think it's lost a lot of what Ray Kroc had to fight so hard to make sure was maintained. Brilliant! It also is a starkly realistic portrayal of the highs, lows, and pitfalls of entrepreneurship, and it's a must-see for anyone even remotely interested in Americana and business. All right, number 3, Beauty and the Beast. Who knew they could still make them like this? Yes, Disney and Bill Condon brought back the Wedding Cake musical, and it was glorious. But Beauty and the Beast not only proved that Hollywood could still do old glamour, but that they could be forward-thinking, thanks to Emma Watson, who insisted on a more realistic, fleshed-out portrayal of Belle. This and Wonder Woman are responsible for potentially, I hope this works out, ushering in an exciting new age of feminism, one that's more relatable and inclusive instead of exclusive when it comes to men. Very, very important. Now, 1 and 2, the number 1 and 2 films, I'm sure you know what they are, but the order might surprise some of you. And number 2, I gotta put Wonder Woman. I'm sorry, but I still loved it. I mean, no movie has ever had more odds stacked against it. But despite that, Wonder Woman prevailed, thanks to the perfect ensemble both in front of and behind the camera. A real team effort, even though it hasn't been promoted as a team effort, unfortunately. Not to take away from what some of the individuals associated with the film accomplished, but I don't think we should do that by diminishing what was contributed by everybody else. Wonder Woman, like Beauty and the Beast, but even more so, presents a brand of feminism that everyone can get behind, but also a hero, regardless of gender, that everyone can celebrate. I mean, it's just a good movie. Origin stories often make for the best movies, and here, this is one of the best origin movies in Hollywood has ever made. And then number 1, yes, is Spider-Man Homecoming, because while I love what Wonder Woman stands for, I relate more to this version of Peter Parker. I feel in many ways I am this version of Peter Parker. This is the movie math of superhero films, and I loved it. From Peter's Stark Industries internship to a realistic take on the Avengers and what their existence means for everyone else in the world. This is, again, the most realistic, as I said in my reviews for the film, spoiler and non, this is the most realistic, modern, and fresh superhero film I've ever seen, reflecting the world we actually live in while still maintaining the idealism that makes everyone love movies in the first place. That's amazing. And the Easter eggs! Marvel not only acknowledges fans' love of their films here, but finally decides to interact with us. And it is just as glorious as one would hope. So those are my top 10 movies of 2017 so far. I'm very excited to see your lists down below and for the debate that I'm sure will follow. So thank you so much for tuning in, and you can check out some more videos right now.